Do you want to know why you're not receiving what you asked for in prayer? It's because you are looking to the problem and not the solution. Yeah, I know that's obvious, but just stick to the end of this video because you're going to learn something that you have not considered before. What if where there's a problem, there is a solution? Well, yeah, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? But the thing is, when we look to the problem, we're not focused on the solution. We're not looking to the solution. We're actually looking to the problem for the solution. And that's my point in this video. If what I wanted is a solution to my problem, but that solution is on the other side of the problem, meaning we've been told that, okay, here's the problem. We got to go through the problem because the solution is on the other side. But I want to share with you, God is our solution, and God cannot be found in the problem. I want to share with you that there's a different perspective in addressing your problem. So, do you try to solve the problem to get to the solution? Well, that's what we think. We think, how do I solve this problem? There's got to be a reason. And we look to the problem within the problem to find the answers that we're looking for. And in doing that, sometimes trying to solve the problem creates more of the problem, because what you think is the problem is not the problem. It's just an illusion. What? I'm coming to the meaning. I will make sense to all of this. Just stick with me in this video, because the problem exists for one reason and one reason only. The problem exists so that you can actually see the solution. I'm going to give you an example. Peter walking on the water. Peter steps out onto the water and walks towards Jesus. No problem. Easy peasy, right? Well, yes and no. Peter doesn't have a problem until a storm comes. And that's a problem, because Peter knows what storms are like on the Sea of Galilee. He's been through so many storms before because he is a fisherman. So no one can tell him, oh, the problem is harmless. Don't worry about it. Ignore it. So Peter begins to look towards the storm, the problem. And the storm is an unsolvable problem. No one can control a storm. So his mind creates a feeling of worry, panic, and dread, because he's been through this before. So yeah, his worry is not futile, it's not silly, and neither is it wrong. It's a human natural trait for Peter to worry. But Jesus is there. So he doesn't have to look to the storm. He doesn't have to worry about what might happen. Peter sees Jesus. He's walking towards another outcome that is actually counterintuitive to the storm. See, the storm creates chaos and even possible death. The storm has not yet reached Peter. But still, Peter worries. Keeping his eyes, heart, and his mind focused on Jesus, Peter actually walks on the water with ease. That's because Jesus is peace, loving, security. He's calm, he's steady, he's healing, he's life-giving as he is life-bringing, as he's life-preserving. But the storm doesn't go away. The storm just gets closer. In fact, so close that Peter begins to lose sight of his task at hand, walking on the water, and he begins to sink as fear takes hold. The storm is not yet over him, as it hasn't consumed him yet, but he starts to sink. Peter then calls out to Jesus, because even though he has faith in the storm, he also has faith in Jesus to save him from not the storm, but from sinking in the water. What need of Peter's is greater? This is what Scripture says. You can do all things in Jesus, who is your strength. When troubles come, what do you focus on? Worry and fear? That manifests as feelings felt in your body, which convinces you that the problem is real, right? The opposite of worry and fear is confidence and love. Just wait for it to leave.
They probably can't even hear it.
Oh, yeah, you can hear it.
Well, who's going to care if your voice is louder?
Well, sometimes it's not. You therefore cannot be convinced that Jesus is with you. And Scripture says this, the joy of the Lord is my strength. See, when you give in to worry and fear and you start feeling that in your body, joy leaves your body. You have no strength in your body, and you have no strength to overcome that problem in your life because joy is gone. But you can turn this all around for your benefit. Use the problem to actually catapult you into the opposite direction. Remember, people tell us that we got to go through the problem in order to get to the other side, which is the solution. What if problem's not so much a door, but a springboard to help us to get to the opposite? Because the opposite of a problem is a solution. So use the problem as a way to redirect your focus and your eyes in the opposite direction. And focus on the solution of your need, of who is your solution. The joy of the Lord is my strength. So focus on God, because where God is, there's no problem. So use the problem to catapult you in the opposite direction. Use the wind of that storm to push you in the direction of joy. Look at the solution as a stepping stone, an opportunity to look at your situation from a different perspective. Okay, so today there is a problem. It's right in my face. It has got me worried. It has me terrified of the possible outcome. But I also know that this is not the only outcome. Jesus saves us. And this is what we usually call out loud as we cry out in terror, Jesus, save me, help! And yet we have to wait for his arrival, but he still answers his name, and he comes at the 11th hour. We are saved by the skin of our teeth. And you want to know why you keep repeating and repeating this problem, this dilemma? We never allow our faith to grow, believing we are destined to live helpless, humble, barely existing lives in this fear that we feel. This fear that we are in bondage of, that we feel in our bodies. We keep repeating this because this fear is all we know, and it becomes a state of belief for us, believing that it's good enough because Jesus, after all, does come to save us when we call out in his name. The truth is, my friends, Jesus saves. That's who he is. He will always save you. And you are always rewarded with the little or abundant faith you have within you. That's why God answered Peter as Jesus reached down and pulled Peter up. He said, ye of little faith. The fear that we feel replaces the joy. We have fear, or we have faith in fear, and no more faith in joy. So when Jesus rescues us, he says, you have little faith. And we take that situation that we are rescued from, we think, oh, that's good enough. Jesus loves me. That's good enough. So begin to see your problems as the pinpoint of your solution. When trouble comes, use that as a guide to tell yourself, oh, life actually wants me to look in the opposite direction of the problem. This problem exists so that I may look in the opposite direction. Ooh. Insecurity exists so that I may choose security. See, you don't have to choose worry and fear. That exists. When the problem is presented to you, you choose to adopt fear and worry as your mainstay. And it's just because you've been choosing this for so long that it just becomes habit. Know this, that you yourself cannot solve the problem. Did you create the storm? Maybe. Maybe you had some sort of responsibility in it. But just know this, that the storm was created for you. Life happens for you, not to you. So the storm is to help you see a solution that you otherwise could not see. The storm helps you to live a lifestyle that you currently are not living. So, the storm presents itself to you so that you can see the solution on the other side. Not by going through the storm, but by turning away from it. So yes, well, you got to go through the storm. How long it lasts, how strong it becomes is determined by the faith or the feelings you put in it through worry and fear. So I'm asking you to replace your fears in your body with a feeling of just relaxation in the here and now. Stay in the present moment. Joy exists within you in the present moment of here. Think of yourself overcoming the storm, whatever it is, and be thankful. Because the storm is for your benefit. It's meant for you to look in the opposite direction within the storm. And if you didn't do this, you wouldn't feel the need to feel joyful. Without the storm, there would be no joy. And without joy, there can be no storm. God is demonstrating the workings of the Spirit through you this day to get you to see how to walk and talk and live by the Spirit. It's up to you if you want to listen to this message or not. Live in your feelings. This is spiritual. Be mindful of the feelings you give into. And be mindful of the feelings that you allow yourself to express. You are expected to mature in your faith in this thing we call life, as it is expected of you to learn the knowledge that God gives you today. This, my friends, was a lesson on discernment. You can't discern the things of the Spirit if you can't recognize it in your own life. But whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night? That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Psalms chapter 1, verse 2, verse 3. I want to be like this person, and I know you do too. The narcissist and the trauma that we have gone through in our past does implant us with fear, and trauma projects onto us worry and doubt, which we live that enough, it becomes our mainstay. It becomes just our go-to feeling. But there comes a time when weeping for yourself has to come to an end. It has to stop. And when you're ready to meditate on God's law, you will. Now, what is meditation? It's not woo-woo. It has nothing to do with New Age. And the law isn't so hard for us to remember. The law is summed up by Jesus in 2 parts. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your strength. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Matthew chapter 22, verse 38 and 39. So how do we follow God's law? Love is patient. Love is kind. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It does not boast. It keeps no record of wrongs. It does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always trusts, always hopes. Love always perseveres, as love never fails. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8. You apply this to yourself. You apply this to yourself. You apply this to others. You apply this to life. You apply this to God. So when a problem arises, go gray rock with your problems. Don't give it the attention that the enemy wants you to give it. Don't give in to those feelings of fear and doubt. Just be patient in knowing that there is an outcome. Go easy on yourself in every moment of the day. Don't hold on to records of wrongs, the wrongs of the past, the wrongs that people have done to you. Don't hang on to the wrongs that you've done to yourself and to others. Let them go by being better. That's the whole lesson in living the repentant lifestyle. Do better by being better. In contemplating this, I was actually given thoughts about my own situation today. And I would like to share this with you, as I believe it will resonate. Because there is always a deeper meaning in things, isn't there? Psychologists tell us that the reason why we are not successful is because we fear success. That never sat well with me. To me, that's an overgeneralization. And I personally don't believe it. I know myself as you know yourself better than anyone else knows you. So for me, I believe the reason why we are not successful is because I personally fear. And it's not fearing success. It's something that we all fear that hits us deep down in our spiritual. Have you ever had a hard time sensing or feeling God? I know you have. You've cried out to God saying, God, I can't feel you. Where's your presence? Where are you? I need to feel you now. I personally realized I create scenarios of trouble for myself in attempts to get God to rescue me. Because it is in those moments of when I am rescued, I know God is then with me. I feel his presence as I am overjoyed. But I easily disassociate myself from his love, from the joy, because in my childhood, I was never reared up and taught by example to retain love in me. See, I was abandoned by both parents. My dad I never met. So I have never seen him face to face. So turning to God, who you do not see face to face, is like for me turning to an earthly dad who is never there for me. So I need to feel God's presence to prove, not to God, but to myself, that God is an ever-present Father. I need to feel the presence of God in order to prove to myself that I am truly loved. And I know this one thing. I know that I'm loved every time that Jesus comes to me when I call him. Every time I call Jesus, he answers. That to me proves love. That to me proves that the love of Jesus is real. And I keep creating scenarios for myself to get God's, not to get his attention, but to get him to show up and help me. And see, for me, I'm willing to accept the bare minimum in my life, as I'm willing to accept the bare minimum of his help, because it's that little help that means everything to me. And in this moment, I'm telling you, it's just coming to me. That is a sign of being desperate for love. And someone so poignantly had this insight to say, Andrea, what did you say about God and us and trauma?
Yeah, we trauma bond ourselves to God.
Thank you. We trauma bond ourselves to God by repeating this pattern of abuse on ourselves. See, you can't know what you don't know, and you can't see what you don't see. But now that I know this, and I see this today for what it's worth, you guys in this video are holding me accountable, as I too am holding you accountable to the insights of this message. I can see what I'm doing, so I can stop this. I know that I am loved, and so are you. We have this joy as the ever-present reminder that God is with us. We do take him wherever we go. So, in this video, I have shared with you that you do not fear success, my dear. You fear losing God's love because you need to feel his presence, and you create storms in your life to get God to rescue you so that you can feel his love in the moment, not realizing that every time you feel joy, you are experiencing the presence of God's love. I also shared with you that life's problems have a solution, not by going through them, not by going around them, but using the law of opposites to find the solution within the problem. You just head on over to the opposite side of the problem. Instead of feeling feelings of fear, worry, doubt, and dread, turn to the feelings of love, peace, joy, and gratitude. When you feel fear, the enemy is worshipped. When you feel joy and peace, your Father in heaven is worshipped. Ooh, ouch, that stings a little, doesn't it? The problem has spiritual significance, my friend. It exists so that you have the opportunity to see the opposite, so that you have the opportunity to see Jesus. Because without problems, we would not be able to see solutions, as there would be no need for a solution. Does that make sense to you? Think of the law of opposites. I am sitting right now. I can't sit and stand at the same time. But if there was no need to sit, then there would be no need to stand. You take away one opposite, you take away the other. If I took away this side of the paper, then this paper would not exist because the back would not exist. So faith is simply your choice to stand in conviction, unmovable, knowing what you feel is certain. That's what faith is. Feeling fear and dread in your body convinces you of an outcome you believe. So you learn to have faith in the problem because the feelings that it brings to your body. Even though the problem hasn't had a fruition or a follow-through yet, you still put your faith in that problem. So we can believe in joy in the same way. What will it cost you to be happy amidst your trials? What have you got to lose by turning to Jesus? You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So now, go make your day great. Mwah.